Hello, everybody. You're welcome to the lifestyle show here on What TV. They say culture is the way of life. In other words, if it is the way of life, you have to live it. You have to safeguard it. You have to, which other word should we use?
Promote.
You have to promote it, exactly. People have to actually know that this is who you are through your way of, exhibiting or living it, as the case is. And today on the show, we'll be talking about localization as a means to safeguard African culture. Once again, you all are welcome to the lifestyle show here on What TV. I still remain your girl and host for the show, EJ. If you haven't followed the lifestyle playlist, please do follow us on follow the lifestyle playlist on What TV YouTube. Like, subscribe, keep sharing the good news. Once again, you are welcome. And by the way, happy new month to you all. With me in the studio today are two lovely people. Yes, two lovely gentlemen. I'm going to give them, time. I'm going to give them the opportunity to actually introduce themselves. We'll start with you, Mr. Daniel.
Okay, so I greet our viewers out there,
Yes,
and
please.
once again, I'm Agbeblewo Kosi Daniel,
Okay.
founder of Nukusme Group,
Okay.
and I'm a regular pundit on your show.
Exactly.
So I think with this we are good to go.
All right, so you're welcome. And then we have Prof. Hedusa, how are you?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm fine. And you?
I'm fine, thank you. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Thank you very much. I'm Prosper Begedu.
Okay.
I'm an associate professor at Université de Lomé.
Okay.
I teach American Studies, and I'm also the coordinator of American Corner at Université de Lomé. Yeah.
That's big. You see, that's the reason why I had to allow them to the introduction themselves, because it's too big. Thank you, sirs, for coming. Thank
Happy
you
to
very
be
much.
here.
All right,
Yeah.
sir. So I began by explaining what culture is, what this topic is about. Okay, I began by explaining it. But let's look a bit into localization. So please, you want to help me explain what localization is?
Okay, thank you very much. Localization simply means adapting.
Okay.
Adapting something, adapting a culture, adapting a language to fit the local context.
Okay.
So there is a global one. You adapt it in order to fit a specific context so that it will be accepted and appreciated. So that is what, in a broad way I can define localization.
All right, sir. How about you?
So my teacher has already given the right definition of localization. So I will go further saying, we are in a global world,
Right.
but each corner of the world needs to be identified. So when you find yourself in a certain part of the world, how to, adapt your lifestyle, living and practices that goes like the inhabitant in that area. That's all localization is about.
All right, then. So
I give an example. Like you live in America, when you find yourself in Africa, you need to live like African, how African they eat, how they behave, how their beliefs, how they understand things. That's what I mean here.
So how do you think that, localization preserves African cultural practices like, the rituals and festival?
This is a very difficult one.
It's not
because currently in Africa, people are not encouraging rituals, especially. They see it like diabolic.
Okay.
So preserving rituals, to seem some way back. Maybe it depends on what one may call ritual.
Okay.
Some people, they have an understanding about what they do. For instance, in my village, when somebody died, they used to say you have to buy a mat.
Okay.
Something that the person, when you go, you will sleep on. It's a culture. Yeah, we don't know what happens there. But somebody will say once the person dies,
He's dead. There's no need for that.
there's no need for doing that. But our ancient people, they understand and they know the person here used to sleep. So wherever he's going, he will be in need to sleep and relax. So we need a suitable thing to lie on. So
Okay.
they accompany the corpse with the mat. So I think it will be through education and inculcating into the young ones, the heritages that we get. Maybe we may not understand it. It may not seem logic, but it is what defines us better. So we have to go by it.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I don't want to ask you the question directly.
Okay.
You know, he's talking about inculcating culture, rituals, right, into our educational system.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? Do you think it's even possible for, you know, in a continent where westernization has eaten deep into it, do you think it's possible to actually inculcate cultural practices like rituals into our curriculum? Yeah,
it's possible, and I think we are doing it already. Because when I take our curricula that is being taught to students, we have courses on festivals, we have courses on rituals, on practices, on traditional practices in some communities. The students here learn about the practices, even if they are from an area where they don't practice this particular type of festival. They learn about the other places, and I think that is something that we need to promote and also to encourage. So in a way, it is possible to inculcate, first of all, by teaching and helping students and young people understand why this is done this way and not the other way. What makes you unique? What makes you special in terms of practice, but at the same time, trying to accept the other one who does not have the same practice as you. So a kind of tolerating other people's differences in culture and in practices. Now, the other thing that is very important is to allow the young people, because you talk about westernization today, allow them to have this kind of pride, to be proud of themselves, to be proud of their roots. And that is why I think this idea of localization is very, very important. We don't take it the way it is, but we try to see how we can adapt it in order not to be very far from what is happening today, because there are some people who think if you don't do it the way our forefathers used to do it, then you are totally wrong.
Exactly.
But I think we need to see how to adapt it in order not to go astray from what should be done, but at the same time trying to accept also some changes that will not affect the essence.
So in other words, I think what he's saying is hybrid. Hybrid.
Yeah, and bringing in this new way of doing things is another way of accepting that we cannot remain static. Things might move, but at the same time contributing to the development and also to the promotion of individuals and communities.
From what he has talked about now, I think it relates more to the elderly ones. Because, you know, when we talk about cultures and we talk about localization, it deals, the elderly would want to tell you that this is certain way that certain things has been done. And certain practices must follow through that certain way, else you're not doing it right. So we, the younger generation, are coming up with hybrid. We want to change it. We want to do it like this, do it like that. Can we practice a bit of this and practice a bit of this? But our fathers will say no. So I think this is more like this thing you're saying now relates more to the fathers.
They will not say, they will say no if we have not been able to tell them why we think there should be a change. Like there are practices that used to be done, and this will not promote like hygiene, like safe health or sound health. But if we, because now technology is there, because now we are educated, we know more things. Like when you're talking about the burial ceremonies, keeping the corpse at homes, for example, for some rituals. If we know that it's very, it will damage and it can jeopardize the health of the people there, then we cannot continue practicing it. But we need to tell them why we think this shouldn't be. So if they don't understand, they will always continue, preventing us from going that way.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. So question 2, how can localization protect African indigenous languages and, from extinction?
Yeah, this is a very tough one, but I think...
All the questions are very tough.
Because in Africa, for instance, we have more than 2,000 languages. Actually. And, when you want to extend one language from the other, it will be very difficult. For instance, you take Togo, we get Ewe, we get Kotokoli, we get Kabiel. you cannot come out one day and say all the Togolese should adapt to, Ewe.
Yes.
You got it. So it makes it very, very, very difficult when you want to, choose one language and work with that language. But with the foreigner language, once you get access to it, you understand everything, and it's like a common field for everybody to, understand and communicate. So at this level, what I will say is like we have to shape it in a certain way. Like when you are in the certain part of Togo in your curriculum, you get Ewe studies, for instance. When you go into the northern region, as they have Kabie, they will have some courses in Kabie that will help them, promote that language. But to make it a nationwide thing, it will be very, very difficult.
Yeah, but I think the question is not about making it nationwide thing. Okay. But the question is how to promote the indigenous languages. And I think that's very important because, like he said, there are many languages in Togo. But what are we doing so that these languages will not disappear one day? If you don't pay attention, like people who live the rural areas, their parents live, they come to settle in Togo, in Lomé, the capital city. Maybe after a few years now, they will all lose the languages. They will not be speaking their local languages, which is very bad. So that is why we need to find ways and means to promote.
How do you think it
these
can be
languages?
promoted?
And it can be promoted through education, through having them, involving them in our curricula. It used to be done before, but making it an elective.
Compulsory.
Yeah, we need to make it compulsory, not elective. Not like saying, if I want, I will study this language. If I don't want, I will not study it. No. Even here in Togo is worse because, for example, if you go to the university, you don't have a department that is really focused on our national languages, differently from like in Ghana. When you go, you have department of Ghanaian languages. In Togo, we don't have any department of Togolese languages, which I think is bad. Better, we need to start somewhere. Today, something is being done, but we need to promote it. And I think we need to encourage everyone to be proud of his or her language. Languages are a vehicle of culture. Why don't we speak the same way they are like the other people? And it makes things very beautiful when we know that we are different. But now talking about speaking a language that allows us to understand each other, we can have it, but at the same time, keep our own languages that are spoken so that we preserve it because it is part of culture. Yes. The languages. Yeah.
Yes.
And a sharp one, yes, like, please. For instance, when you are in school, I take the primary level and you speak vernacular. They are used to punish you.
Yes.
That actually, you don't speak vernacular.
Yes.
It's
error.
It's error. The whole point. So it's like they are chasing you from your origin. Yeah. So at a certain level, when they use the word local, it seems like insult some people.
Yes.
Yeah. Like we're a local champion. The person will be annoyed at why is the person calling me local. But you can be in America and be a local person.
That's where perspective.
Yeah, as far as you are in America, you are in a local place in America, so you have to adapt to the culture and everything. And when you come to Africa, it can be local. You get it, but they make the whole thing seem like local itself is something bad. So no one wishes to be a local guy.
That's actually true.
No,
It's true. I mean, come on. When you call
local, foreign, national, international languages, all these terms. Maybe might be confusing, but the whole idea is what is spoken here and what is spoken globally. Right. So, for example, if we take the English language now, it is a language that is spoken everywhere. Yes. But if I take my language that I speak at home, it is not spoken globally. So that will be where the difference will come. But what I am emphasizing is you yourself, you don't need to have somebody to come and tell you that your language is important.
I think this thing has a lot to do with our educational system.
Yeah,
nice
because
you need to value it.
Yes,
yeah.
They've made it so that if you don't speak fluent English, you're not regarded even in school. Yeah. Do you get? But then when you speak your language, it's as though what have you been doing in school all this while? Yeah. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's our local language is not even promoted in our own educational system,
and not all the educational system in our homes.
Exactly,
because it starts from there. The parents, how many parents speak? All the parents want their children to speak French before going to school. They want them to speak English. But how many of them want them to speak Ewe or Kabie or any other language? It's like something that they are going backward. But I think That is where we need to start. Now, when he says they punish students for speaking vernacular, for me, I think we need to explain things right. If I'm teaching English and I want my students to speak only English, if somebody speaks French, then the person is going against the ethics of English. Yeah. Now, if I'm speaking French and you are speaking another language, I will not be happy with you. Now, if at the time the students are not supposed to speak Ewe, they are speaking it, I think that one can take a punishment. But if it is because they are speaking the Ewe that they are punished, I think that one is very bad, because it is a way of telling them that this language is very bad and you don't need to speak it in order to be well seen and well accepted.
EJ,
yes, please.
I remember during my time in school, we get that, I think, a snail shell. You know, there will be a snail shell, and anytime you speak vernacular,
they'll put it on your
neck. So everybody will know this guy is a local guy.
Oh my God!
So, such practices, we need to move them out of our system. Like my professor explained it very well. If you are in English class, then you need to go by English. But outside a specific language time, we need to be free, and speaking like vernacular shouldn't be seen like something
like a taboo.
Yeah, some places, I go to some places, when you are speaking even local dialect, you feel ashamed. Yeah.
All right, let's go to question 3. How can localization safeguard traditional storytelling across the world? I would go with you on that, Daniel.
Yeah, how can localization safeguard tradition and
traditional storytelling across the world?
Okay, you know, Africa, each of our stories, there's a lesson behind.
Yes.
There's a lesson behind, and most of the time, you know, I see this through those who do films, like filmmakers. I will go to that side, that part of filmmakers. Yes. Normally, for your story to be known, these filmmakers, they need to project, you know, our stories. Like we get art in Africa, and each act, like a simple drawing, it says many things. And they used to give us some stories back in the days, like the hare and the tortoise, you know, and it gives you, at the end of the story, there's always a moral lesson. And you know, it is something good, and it educates, and there's more morals, you know, with this. So I think when we safeguard or we localize, you know, our storytelling and make our people get in love with this kind of stuffs, they will get more morals, and you know, by doing this, our continent will go far.
Our traditions is basically orality. Yes. And in African context, a lot of moral lessons are conveyed through storytelling, through folk tales, through proverbs, and many other ways of transmitting knowledge. So unfortunately, we don't have it again. Now, when talking about localization, I think that is very important, because in the rural areas, they used to, you know, put fire, and people will sit around it, and the grandparents will start telling stories, and at the end of the story, they will ask you, what lesson would you drop? Now, if you don't have this setting here, we can create it.
Is it possible?
It is possible. That is where the idea of localization comes in. We need to understand that. Like last time I was talking about, scientists working and finding results, but not being able to communicate the result to the end users. If you are talking about climate change, for example, the end users are in the villages. How do they understand it? It will be understood through storytelling. You need to craft a story, create a story, just tell them. And at the end of the story, you say, okay, you see, if you don't preserve the nature, that is what will happen to you. And so for me, it's very important to come to this and lay emphasis on them. Our students, our children today don't know much of stories. We need to write them, even if it is oral before, and people are dying, going with this knowledge. We need to put them down now in written form.
Most people don't. We the younger generations, we don't read.
We don't read.
We prefer audio.
Watching.
Now, if they prefer watching and audio, we need to put it in that format.
Filmmakers, you know.
Yeah, we need to put it in that format so that they will go to it, because we believe that they will learn.
Considering the kind of content that we, the younger generation, are thrilled to watch. Do you think that such tradition or custom can be communicated and people watch. So I hope you know that with the younger generation, we watch things that are more what's the word? Please help me.
That is
these
why.
are two that are just sexually oriented. So in other words, any content without sexual aspect of it, people don't really get thrilled at it. Do you get? So imagine that you're portraying a drama. Let's say, for instance, Université de Lomé is putting up a play, right? And they're inviting you to come watch. People may not really be interested, but put something like, oh, there's going to be party, ladies are going to show their cleavages and whatnot. You see people running to come.
But I will shock you by saying that, you see, what we think that is not really acceptable and accepted here, when you go to Europe, when you go to the US, that is what people want to see. Because they are promoting this African culture, because they have seen these, things already. They want to see new ones. And that is what where we are. And I think that is why this topic, localization and adaptation, if we know that this is what our young people want to see, why can't we take the same stories, craft them in a way? When we see the dances that are performed in the story, when we see the costume that is used in the story, when we are talking about the play or the drama that is going to be performed, I think if we want to do it the way it is in the rural areas of villages, it might not attract. But how can we localize it? How can we adapt it so that people in this urban setting, will accept it and also will learn from it? And I think that is the work that we need to do continuously, so that we will attract as many as we can, so that we will not lose our traditions and values.
Okay, yes.
One thing is, like, we don't ask for what we are supposed to watch. When you've found yourself in the space of net, anything you see, you start watching.
Yes.
And it's about algorithm. So I think if African leaders are able to secure that sector with African tradition and stuff, they can bring out content that anytime you go on the net, you will be seeing more of those content, and you'll get used to it. It's like music. It's like music. Once it sounds, you keep on listening and you keep liking it.
The algorithm keeps popping up.
So it's not like the new generation, they like sexual stuff. It is what is showed to them.
Actually,
it is what they found outside there. So when we work about that aspect, it can work also.
Okay. Now, sir, how can localization support the preservation of African textile art?
Yeah, I think he's dressing up in a very
African
way. Maybe me too. Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
So I think now, we have the raw materials here, and our problem is how to process them.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we don't value what we have locally. So I think now countries from the Sahelian area are doing it, and I think Ghana too is doing it. So they are promoting, local, textile, and also dressing in a way to, look and feel African. Yes. And I think that is what we need to do. Like when our ministers go for meetings, if we want to have some celebrations in our schools, and I think schools are doing it.
Yeah, cultural day.
Weeks. They encourage students to come to dress up in the way that looks like their origins. So I think that is something that we need to promote. But unfortunately, sometimes it is more expensive than when you buy something that is westernized, because they produce it in large quantity, large scale production. So we need to promote this support. Our leaders need to support these small artisans that are producing African fabric, African textile, so that they will not have it very expensive. And when they are selling it, people will have to sell.
Yeah, people will buy.
Like, why do I need to wear costume if I don't have to wear it? Why can't I wear my betekele or my kente to go to somewhere and people will not look at me and say, but I think if you travel and you wear this, you become the star.
Yeah, of course.
You are the star. People want to see it because
Yes.
it's different from what they used to see.
Yeah, of course. And also to add to this thing that you guys just talked about, the names of these people that, make such fabrics, the local fabrics, should actually be promoted. People don't talk about them. You see people that make these dresses, they are actually good people, right? They are good people that make good fabrics, but they are not being promoted. Nobody really cares much about them. But look at someone like Zara.
Yeah.
Zara makes a very good suit, and then it's viral because it's Zara.
Yeah.
Someone like
Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton. These are names that are viral, but we don't promote our own names, right? But I feel like such names should be promoted. Do you get? So, any addition to what I've just said?
Yeah, but I think with that, it's time, we change our mindset as, Africans. Because once somebody is into this fabric thing and you place orders, it will be easier for the person, to keep on doing the production.
Yeah.
But it seems like the westernization has got to a level that even when we wear some traditional wears to some place, people do not value you.
Exactly. That's exactly what
people
he
do not
just
value.
said.
It's only maybe during funerals. They say, people will be in, they know in funerals
You have to wear.
you have to wear like
Oh my God.
local gadgets. You get it. But like when you are going to workplace,
Okay.
and every time it is with gloves, like
Or
traditional
church.
gloves
Or
or
church.
church.
Yeah.
So you get it. We have to change the mindset. Even if going to school, we can choose a material African wear using as school wear. It will be very good. But to date, we still use the European,
Yes,
yeah.
the Western lifestyle.
So it is time maybe we wake up and try doing things differently.
Okay, final question. It's for you.
Yeah.
How can localization help safeguard African traditional cuisines? Food. I talk about food.
Yeah, talking about African cuisine, that one, it is still up there. And everywhere you go, African cuisine is there. Because they know. Let me give you, for example, when you go to, I know people in America that when you go to America, if you want to eat any African food, you will be able to get it. And it is working for the white people. That's why they are doing it. Because they know the people, they are working there, they are living there. So if they create something they like, all the money they are making there,
It's for them.
they will be spending in the system.
Right,
So talking about African food like the fufu, the choza fish, everywhere you go in the world, you will find them. So I don't see that as a challenge when it comes to culture. For food there, everywhere you go, you can, when you see African food, you can know. When you see pepper with goat meat,
You know
even
what?
with the vegetables,
Yes.
you know this is Africa.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm afraid that when we come to farming, now, do we really have people who are continuously farming or growing African, crops, for example, like some soups, some, vegetables that are really typical Togolese? They are disappearing. Because we want to have, the Western vegetables and so on and so forth. So I think a way of preserving our, cuisine is to promote the growing or the farming of our local vegetables that have a lot of nutrients and also good for our health. Because when you take these vegetables, that we have iron, we have all sorts of nutrients that we need for our body. Unfortunately, we don't value them. When you see somebody eating this type of food, which is not shawarma, which is not, pizza, which is not this, they will say you are not really civilized.
You're not, yes.
So
Not
if you are
touched
eating these things, no, you need to go there. But I think that is why we need to to train our kids so that they will value this type of food that we eat, knowing that it is it is healthier than this junk food that they eat everywhere.
Talking about this cuisine also, there's something that is amazing that the Togolese and as well as Ghanaians have adopted, which is the lesser use of food seasoning and more use of natural produce like onions, garlic and co. So I think he has a point in terms of production of our crops because that's where it goes from. Seasoning, it's more Western, it's westernized. So a whole lot of countries these days they put very large amount of food seasoning into the food that at the end of the food start tasting sugar.
Yeah.
So you don't even know the natural taste of the food itself. But there's something amazing about the Ghanaians as well as Togolese, which is the very natural means of producing or cooking this food. You see them using very large amount of ginger, very large amount of garlic, very large amount of onions, and very small quantity of seasoning. And at the end of the day, when you test this food, see, you people need to try fufu. It's not funny. Like, I'm not joking with you right now.
And you know, there's something about that I would like to point out.
Yes, please.
You know, for the moment in Africa, like those who are into the natural produce, they are not that many. It's because we are not into industrialization that much. Once processing starts, this onion and ginger thing we are talking about, you cannot see them physical.
Exactly.
You get it? So that's one point. But we are moving from one point, African medicine. I think it is time for them to be vetted and approved because we get medicines in Africa that are powerful.
I think Ghanaians are doing it now.
They are doing it. They are
many
vetting,
countries are doing it.
They are vetting approving them. I don't know of Togo, but it is a very good thing. So that as African, we know that this is African originated, medicine, and we will love it and use it without having fear. But there's this thing out there that if you buy an African medicine, it's like you are buying a future sickness because they will tell you the dosage and everything is not respected. But I think it's a fallacy. Before these Western medicines will come out here, we used to cure ourselves, and people didn't get problem in the olden days. So we need to look at that too.
Wow, we've actually come to the end of this very episode. Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. I mean, you've contributed immensely to this very topic. And Prof, you are amazing. Thank you so much. This is the first time we're having Prof on the Lifestyle Show. Thank you, sir, for coming. I hope we'll get to see more of you on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. Until we come your way next week, stay blessed, stay safe. We want to give a special shout out to the production team, Mr. Jared Sonam, the director, Monsieur Yengao, Fofo, Golo, and very other crew members. We want to say a very big thank you to you guys. Until we come your way next week, stay blessed, stay safe. Plenty love from me to you. Bye bye.